It's the OG fact checker to give you a juicy tidbit of history that is verified. For my first episode, I'll tell you about Alex Haley, the guy who wrote this book, Roots, the story of an American family. He traced his maternal lineage from the Gambia, West Africa, to their first arrival on the shore of Annapolis, Maryland. He published the first excerpt of Roots in Reader's Digest in 1974 before publishing the full novel in 1976 to wide acclaim, and it was published in 37 languages. What pushed this book into the stratosphere was the television miniseries that first aired in 1977, starring LeVar Burton. 2 years later, a second miniseries aired, Roots, The Next Generation, that covered the last 7 chapters of the book. Haley won the Pulitzer Prize in 1977 under a special citation for Roots. But did you know that Haley retired from the Coast Guard and that there is a Coast Guard cutter named after him? Did you know the Playboy interview, you know, the one you men used to claim was the reason why you subscribed to Playboy, was created by Alex Haley? Let me back up for a second. Haley gets his start as a ghostwriter in the Coast Guard when he was a mess boy. How? In a most unusual way. Haley joined the Coast Guard months shy of his 18th birthday, just as World War II was underway, and one of the few occupations available to blacks in the military at the time was mess boy. During World War II, the Coast Guard was transferred under the Department of the Navy, and Haley gets transferred to the USS Mersey. Haley sends a lot of letters back home, and on any given day, he'd receive between 30 to 40 responses during mail call. Haley wants to be a romance writer, but he's not very successful. One day, Haley's yearning to be a romance writer pays off in a different way, by saving romantic relationships one letter at a time. A crewmate has a love problem. He has just gotten a Dear John letter, and he is desperate to get back his honey bunny. Haley writes a response letter for the guy that is so good, the girlfriend begs for forgiveness. Word spreads, demand increases, and he begins creating love letter templates, and as much as 300 were bound in an anthology for open access. Another bit of writing he does on board the Mersey is the ship's newsletter. He writes an article in that newsletter about the importance of writing to members overseas to boost morale. His crewmates start including a clipping of that article in their letters to loved ones sent home. Next thing you know, his article is picked up on the news service and distributed nationwide. From there, Haley's writing career picks up momentum, and he was reassigned in 1945 to the Coast Guard's 3rd District headquarters in New York City. However, though his duties included public affairs work at his new command, he was nonetheless a steward's mate for the admiral. In less than a year, though, he's officially transferred to public affairs office, and then he cross-rates over to yeoman first class. 2 years later, he cross-rates again to journalist, rising to the rank of chief petty officer a year after that. He was the first African American to do so, as well as be the service's first and only chief journalist. He literally wrote his way out of being a mess boy. Haley serves the Coast Guard honorably in public affairs, and he retires from the Coast Guard to pursue writing full-time after 20 years of service. The Coast Guard cutter, Alex Haley, based in Kodiak, Alaska, is named after him in honor of that service. What about Playboy? I haven't forgotten. Now, in the civilian world, Haley uses his contacts in journalism to get some assignments here and there with Reader's Digest, The Atlantic, and Playboy magazine. The first interview he publishes in Playboy is with Miles Davis. But the one specific Playboy interview he does leads to Haley writing his first bestseller, one of Malcolm X. After that interview, he approaches Malcolm X about writing his biography. But Malcolm X is like, no, it's my story. I'll tell it, but I'll let you write it. So between 1962 and 1965, Haley does 50 interviews with Malcolm X. This is why the title of that bestseller is The Autobiography of Malcolm X, as told to Alex Haley. I love history. The more you know.